Alright, what's up guys? As you know, earlier this week we talked about how EA is just blaming everything but the fact that they rushed the game to put blame on why Battlefield 2042 is flopping. And basically today I wanted to talk about a studio that's doing the exact opposite and literally delayed the game to avoid crunch. And guess what? People aren't extremely pissed, saying it's the worst thing to ever come out. I'm getting quiet now. Laying low when you reach zone, wiping out, making out, stack the brain. Alright, so a couple years ago, a game, Horizon Zero Dawn, came out. It was very, very popular. One of the more popular PlayStation exclusives, I think it was. That being said, its sequel is coming out, and it ended up getting delayed, and the reasoning for that was to avoid stressing out the developers, making them work 90 hours a week to still release a half-polished turd. Horizon Forbidden West was delayed in part to avoid crunch. Honestly, I feel like this is probably the way the gaming industry should go about it. What we've seen now is that, like, when you crunch developers and make them work overtime and rush to finish a game, it never ends up as good as it could be. And on top of that, then you have to deal with the bad PR of people being pissed that you launched a half-finished game, you know, and then your workers are mad at you too because they're exhausted, and then you make them work overtime to fix everything that was launched broken. You know, it's just a disaster. Obviously, I understand delaying, you know, the release of a game and the millions of dollars that it'll make is not great for a business. But that being said, I'm shocked that a lot of these bigger game companies haven't realized it's probably better to take the hit for a month or two and slowly finish the game, maybe up to a year, you know, however long you need to delay it, and like make the fans happy than it is to release a half-broken game and then your studio have a bad reputation forever, you know? Like, I wish EA would understand. We don't want the Call of Duty developers, or that's Activision, sorry. We don't want the Battlefield developers having to crank out a title every year. I wish Activision would understand that we don't want Call of Duty every year if it's just going to keep being only, like, barely any better, if not worse. I would rather be patient for, like, a year or two and get a game that releases very high quality with a bunch of new stuff than the current schedule, which is just like, all right, get that game out there, take their $80, and then we'll fix it slowly. If something's free, I feel like you kind of lose the right to complain about the quality a little bit, you know? Like, a Fortnite during the beta had some problems, but it was a beta. You didn't pay for it. What's flabbergasting about a lot of these game companies, bro, is they're perfectly fine taking your 60, 80 bucks and then giving you garbage. In a welcome change of narrative, it turns out the developers of Horizon Forbidden West chose to delay the game's release in part to avoid its employees having to crunch. Director Mathis J. Zhang spoke to a Dutch website, nu.nl, about Horizon Forbidden West, its delays, and the work culture at Guerrilla. Forbidden West may have been released at the end of last year, but then we might have had to work overtime, and that played a part in the decision to release the game now, he said. Alright, you know, I think we can agree that the quality is probably a little bit better from people that aren't being forced to work overtime to finish a game. But on top of that, I feel like something that the boss of this company is going to get the huge benefit of is the employees like to work for you. You know, if there's one thing that we've all kind of heard about the horror stories of like Activision, Blizzard, and EA, and all that stuff, it's that, like, you know, they're not exactly super fun places to be at. You don't like being at work. You don't feel in a dramatic sense of loyalty to your company. And listen, I'm not saying that you have to have that, but if your company has your back and is willing to delay the game's release in order to make sure that you're not going to work overtime, that's probably going to make you care about your work a little bit more. You know, like, if it feels a little bit more like, okay, I do all this hard work for the company, and in the return, the company adjusts stuff to, like, let me work at my best and not overwhelm me, I don't know, I feel like the quality of the work is probably going to go up. At the end of the day, that's what most people want at their job, is to just feel like, you know, they're not just a robot expected to produce work and that their boss cares. And if you're able to do that and release a better product, I don't understand why. You know, even if you are able to crunch and not release a broken game, let's say hypothetically you make all your developers work 120 hours a week and you finish the game in time, right? You do make a bunch of money. Now your development team's burned out, so bugs and like patches are going to take longer because they're exhausted, and on top of that, they don't like to work for you, dude. Your best developers, the people that could go get a job anywhere, are probably going to leave after you make them work 90 hours a week for months on end. I'm just saying, I'm not understanding the entire, like, if you do the cost, like the pro-con list, right? Cost-benefit analysis, making developers work really hard to maybe release a game that might do well, but then they still hate you, just doesn't seem worth the risk. We are very aware of the disadvantages of crunching, so we take into account a lot of our planning. To give an example, at Christmas we said there'd be no work and everyone could have a 2-week vacation. The company was closed and you couldn't even go into work. Many companies have come under scrutiny in recent years for their problematic approach to crunch culture. Big names such as Naughty Dog, Rockstar, and CD Projekt Red have reportedly encouraged workplace crunch in order to get certain games completed on time. And listen, I don't want anyone to walk away from this video thinking I hate the idea of ever having to do overtime or work a little extra. Obviously, sometimes, it's just reality. You might have to stay late to fix something. You might have to work to, finish a game a little early. That being said, I think the crunch that these developers go under is a little bit more than that sometimes. Working 90-hour weeks for an extended period of time is a lot more than just putting in the extra hours, And not to mention, if you're a salaried worker, so you just get the same amount of money every month, then working overtime is literally working for free, if not reducing the amount of money that you're getting paid by the hour. And I'm gonna assume that a lot of these game developers, since they're tech jobs, are salaried employees. So yeah, imagine working double the hours you're supposed to work for a month and getting paid the same amount. That'd probably piss you off. And I don't know if all the studios work that way. Some of them might pay overtime. I don't know. They listed a lot of them. I can't know how all of them work. But, even if you are getting compensated for it, why work 90 hours a week and deal with that all the time? Maybe getting overtime, maybe not. When, you could go work for a studio that gives you 40 hours, Obviously, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. A job's a job. But I think as we see this industry develop more, studios with a lot better work schedules are going to be a lot more popular amongst workers. And if you want an example, look at, developers, computer developers love to work at Google, because they have great benefits. They take care of stuff. There's childcare, all that stuff. Obviously, the better you treat your employees, the more they want to be there, the better the work is. That's all I'm saying. And, I betcha if you treat your employees well, if there ever is a time where you have to stay late, you have to crunch, you have to get this done on time, they're going to be a lot more willing to do that because they know that if you're asking them to stay late, there's probably a really good reason. If you're a little too willy-nilly with the, hey, can you stay late on work on this, then chances are it's going to be annoying every time. If you ask once a year, they're probably a lot more obligated to do it. In contrast, Insomniac Games said it managed to complete Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart without forcing its employees to work obscene hours. In this case, game designer Grant Parker revealed the studio only ever worked a standard 40-hour work week and tweeted, "It's possible to work on a great game without suffering," something that many colleagues at Insomniac reiterated. Horizon Forbidden West clearly hasn't suffered because of its release delays. While fans may have had to wait a little bit longer than was originally expected, ensuring a healthy work-life balance for those involved with its development was clearly important for Guerrilla, and rightfully so. I haven't played either of these games. I can't vouch for if they're absolutely incredible or not, but I can say that I bet you within the industry of game developers, these companies are definitely going to become a little bit more popular with the workers, And most of all, I just feel like at the end of the day, dude, most of these games that get crunched on and forced to be rushed out don't end up being that good, Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever, I said that really weird, sorry. That game was literally in development hell for 10 years, delay, but then they were crunching it at the very end to get it out on time, and it's alright, didn't really work. You were working on it for 10 years already. What was another one? Obviously, people were really mad at them, but you guys get the point. I feel like a lot of times whenever these studios just kind of force people to work on the game and finish it ASAP, it doesn't get them a good result. It would be one thing if every time somebody crunched at a studio, they were like, oh my gosh, it's the best-selling game of all time. Listen, guys, I know it sucks to work hard, but if we work hard right now, we're gonna make the modern-day GoldenEye, an instant classic. That'd be one thing. But that's just not the case. Usually it's alright guys, we worked 120 hours a week and we've got 1 star on Steam, and the most disliked YouTube trailer of all time. I don't know. Overall, I know a lot of companies are saying that gaming is the future, metaverse, NFT land, all of that's going to just be where everybody is hanging out. I don't really think that's the case. That being said, if it is the case, then at the bare minimum, I feel like the people making everything probably shouldn't be forced to work overtime to get stuff out. But hey, I just figured that this was some pretty good news, something I thought was cool, so I figured I would talk about it, especially because we've talked about how much studios rush out games a lot this week. So if you did enjoy it, be sure to press the like button, let me know in the comments section down below what you thought, of course, and subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications if you haven't already. I post stuff like this every day. If you really want to help me out, a link to the intro songs down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. It's actually going to be 30% off until the 21st of this month, so be sure to do that. And the last two things you can do for me: first, I put some of my content up on Spotify so you guys can listen to it offline without gameplay. I'll put a link to the Spotify show in the top of the description. And then, of course, we have the coolest merch to ever exist. That link's going to be at the bottom of the description. Be sure to go check it out and get yourself a t-shirt. Otherwise, you know, no joke, no scam, you'll never be cool. And yeah, on that note, guys, I think that'll really do it for the video. Thank you so much. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.